All right, there we are. Apologies for that. Yeah, that's. Thank you all. Yeah, it's one of these days, right? My name is Nicholas Lamar Soutter. Welcome to In Time. At present, we have a minimum of two dams in Michigan have collapsed. The governor of Michigan has declared a state of emergency, and it looks like a third dam is either being overtopped and or has collapsed. It is either in the process of collapsing or has collapsed. That puts most notably the town of Midtown, Michigan, which has 41,000 people, almost 42,000 people, under an emergency evacuation order. Again, the town of Midland is under an evacuation order, roughly 42,000 people, as what appears to now be 3 dams have collapsed, spilling their contents downstream. Now the dams have been, at least one of them was covering what appears to be a small lake. That lake has emptied. And what we have here is a picture of the lake, absent what has the dam. It's completely empty. We had a video of the lake emptying, but we no longer seem to have that. We are trying to get some more media to you. But what they're saying now is, as of, let's see, this first happened at 10 Eastern. So that would be, they now have, according to the initial reports, they now have an estimated between 9 and 12 hours before Midland is under roughly 9 feet of water. The water levels are rising. They're rising quickly. Shelters have been set up at Coleman High School, Meridian Junior High School, Midland Mall, West Midland Family Center, Bullock Creek High School, and Messiah Lutheran Church. This is where they are urging people to evacuate. The entire town of Midland, downtown Midland. So let me correct that then. It is not the entire town. It is all right. Things are happening quickly, so let me try to be a little clearer here. They're saying that they're anticipating, and at this point from the initial report, they're saying that between 9 and 13 hours from now, downtown Midland could be under 9 feet of water. That is according to, I believe, the governor of Michigan. There has been a minimum of 2 dams that have been breached, the Edenville Dam and at least one other. There was a third that, as of at least an hour ago, was in danger of being breached. There's no word yet, or at least I have no word yet, as to what the status is of that bridge. I will be trying to figure out what caused it, or if anyone knows. I do know that at least one of the rivers was reported at record highs and may have been overtopped. Overtopping is when water starts to go over the top of the dam, and this actually, believe it or not, that's the worst thing for the integrity of a dam is when it starts to overtop, because the water comes in behind it and starts to actually erode the foundation of the dam from behind, and that will cause the whole dam to just fail. So once a dam starts to overtop, it's usually a critical situation. Another one of the dams apparently has had failed multiple safety inspections prior to this, and there were a lot of warnings about it. I don't know much about that yet. We're still obviously trying to figure out what's going on, and I'm going to see if I can get video for everybody right now, and then I will do another rundown in just a minute as to what we have and what we know. Governor warns, actually, okay, so it depends on who you talk to. The Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer has declared a state of an emergency for one county. A minimum of 2 dams have failed. We are unsure about a third. The Eatonville and Sanford dams have both failed as of, it looks like, around 10 p.m. Eastern. They are saying so, and then this is one thing. I actually do have family in Michigan. They are in just outside of the Detroit area, so I think they're, to the best of my knowledge, fine. But if you have family, everybody's asleep now. I don't know what they're doing. Presumably they have some kind of emergency warning system to get a hold of people. Hopefully they are doing that. But they are anticipating a historic water level. I would hope that's historic. If you have a family member or loved one who lives in another part of the state, go there now, she said. The entire county is under a state of an emergency, and the town of the town of Midland has been ordered to evacuate. So that is where we are now, and I am going to take a brief minute. This is where I would say a word from our sponsors, but at least I'm not. So the third dam, the Stanford Dam has, I don't know what the status is of the dams. So the river was already above flood stage when they failed. Like I said, I think what they were looking at from one of the reports I was looking at, I have multiple pages at this. The National Weather Service did say it had issued flash flood emergency locations, flash flood emergency warnings in that area. The Rifle River near Sterling was already in a major flood state, and as of this moment, they are saying 3,500 homes and over 10,000 people have been affected by the evacuation notices. And no deaths, no injuries reported so far, but they are telling everyone to evacuate immediately. As I said before, they're looking at now between 9 and 13 hours before the downtown Midland is anticipated to be under roughly 9 feet of water. I have some footage here that I'm going to try to get. I'm going to see if we can streamline this in. This may be a little tricky, but I am going to try to get what we have here is some pretty extraordinary footage. I am going to, it will take me 1 minute, but I believe I can get that in. I may get that, I may have to, just because of the way our system is set up right now, it may be that the only place that that's going to be able to go is Courtney's footage. Nobody tell Courtney. I mean, it's just going to have to go right on her. right in her spot. So let me see if I can get that, and then if I can, it's actually a short footage, but I think it is worth viewing, and I can get that now. It's going to take me a minute, so please bear with me. Yes, I think we'll be able to get that. That will be in the co-host window. So let me see if I can get that window active there. All right, again, please bear with me. This will take at least 1 more minute. So what I will say as we start, as of what appears to be around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 dams broke, were destroyed in Michigan, draining at least 2 lakes. A third dam appears to have failed since then. The town of Midland, Michigan has been ordered to evacuate. As of this moment, they are now saying that 100,000 people, 10,000 people have so far been evacuated, and they're moving the evacuation order up to 100,000 people. The town of Midland is home to 42,000, and it looks like they're going to be evacuating the entire state. They're expecting from between 9 and 12 hours from now, 9 feet of water in the center of Midland. The governor there has declared a state of emergency. And we are asking if you know anybody there. I mean, my assumption is they're going with police sirens and door to door. But if you know someone in that area, no need to wake up everybody in Michigan. I have family in Detroit. I'm going to let them sleep. Actually, they're tied to my in-laws, so I may wake them up anyway and just be like, it's just like, get up and ruin their day. Like, oh, sorry, I thought you were. But all kidding aside, if you know anyone in the area, it may not be a bad idea to check and make sure that they are aware. This looks, unfortunately, right now really extraordinarily serious. We will be updating. I'm going to try. I've got at least one piece of footage here that I think we've just about got up. And then after that, I should be able to reasonably easily add more. Somebody did say earlier that we are. I don't know. Actually, let me get to that in 1 minute. Alright, so this is, what we have here is I'm going to actually show 2 videos. I'm going to show one, then I'm going to do another rundown, but I'm going to start with this one here. This is an image of a helicopter pilot who captured the dam breaking as Alright, that's, yep, and we actually can get that in the center screen. So you will see in a minute in the center screen a image of, it's a brief clip, but we'll have a second one lined up now that we've got the media player here working again. This is a helicopter pilot who appears to have caught the dams as they broke. Let's watch this. Alright, and then we will get another one for you in a minute. Let's see here, that's correct. Alright, so for those who are just joining us at around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it appears that 2 dams broke in Michigan, draining at least 2 rivers. We showed some pictures of that just a few minutes ago, and we have a few more pictures that we will get to in a minute. At present, the governor has declared a state of emergency, and it looks like they have issued immediate evacuation orders for 10,000 people. The orders appear now to be extending to over 100,000 people to be evacuated as soon as possible. The town of Midland, Michigan, which is home to roughly 42,000 people, has been ordered to evacuate, and the governor has said that she anticipates about 9 feet of water in the downtown area within the next 9 to 13 hours. There are a number of evacuation facilities. I'm going to read those out in just a second. What we have is, we've done that. So, if they're asking residents to actually go out of state if they have to go to a family's house. If it's out of state, that's fine, but go anywhere where there's family, where you are out of danger. The problem is they don't have a huge number of facilities where they can host people. However, the following emergency shelters are open, but they're asking people only to go to these shelters if you have no other place to go. Coleman High School, Meridian Junior High, Midland Mall, West Midland Family Center, Bullock Creek High School, Messiah Lutheran Church. Those are the evacuation sites for people who have nowhere else to go. The failures appears, at least one of these appears to have failed because of extreme flooding, and it appears to have been overtopped. From what we can tell, one was called the Edenville Dam, and that one alone, okay, so according to federal authorities, the owners of that dam have, quote, a long history of non-compliance with federal standards. The second dam to have failed was the Stanford Dam, and it looks like that one breached about an hour later. And the Dow Chemical Plant, which sits basically on the river and completely surrounded, is at risk. I don't know what happens if a chemical plant floods, if they have phosphorus or anything in there. Phosphorus, there are two kinds of phosphorus. One explodes when it comes into contact with air. The other one explodes when it comes into contact with water. And that's just one example of many things that could be in there. I don't know what their that's a really good question. My assumption is that there will be absolutely no social distancing at either of these evacuation centers. They will probably not have PPEs. There is no way to get that many PPEs on such a short notice. My assumption is that no, there will be no coronavirus protocols whatsoever there. So yeah, we do have the M30 bridge was the final one to collapse. So it was the M30, the Sanford Bridge, and the Edenville Bridge have all collapsed. At least two of them now. It appears we're having long-standing violations of federal code, and we don't know much more than that. What I'm going to do here is I am going to try to just prepare a few notes to make this easier for people. I want to have this information ready at hand, and then what we will do is see if there is I'm going to get a list of the evacuation sites. We'll be putting the evacuation sites into the description, so if anybody wants to know what they are, if anybody has any family that they want to give that information to, that will be in the description momentarily. I do apologize. At present, our producer is unavailable, so it's just me. This is such as, yeah. I was going to make a joke. I think probably best to avoid that. Well, my guess is, so there's a question, I hope there was not many people on those bridges. My guess is that hopefully there was nobody on those bridges. And it's actually dams. It's dams that broke, and you can drive on some dams, but usually once they start to overtop, nobody's going to be driving on them. If it was, it looks, to me, it looks like one of them was an overtop, but at this point, I am speculating. I think it's all speculation right now as to the failure, unless somebody has footage of them overtopping. We do know there was record rains for the last roughly 2 weeks. There has been multiple emergency alerts sent out. The alert reads as follows: for Michigan, flash flood, and then latitude and longitude, move to higher ground now. This is an extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation. Do not attempt travel unless you are fleeing an area under flood warning. Flash flood observed, flash flood damage, threat catastrophic, dam failure imminent. That came out from National Weather Service. It looks like that came out. I don't have the precise time on that. It looks like that came out about 10:30. So we have at least one lake appears to be completely drained. And let's see, we're going to see if we can find, we have a bit more. I'm hoping we're going to get some footage here. Yes, there is. So we'll get to that. We were actually preparing a. We do have a news update, and I guess I'll give you the highlights of the news update in just a minute. But Donald Trump's really doing some unfortunate things. So give me 1 minute, folks. I am going to update the description once we have the emergency information in the description. I will get into another. I think that was a good point on the PPEs. There's no way they're prepared for this. States are having enough time, hard enough time with the coronavirus as it is. The notion that they're going to be prepared for the sudden influx in the number, and since it's already an emergency situation in the state of Michigan dealing with the coronavirus and dealing with it, they're not saving supplies for something like this. So I think this could have really. There are a few people who could probably speculate better than I, and luckily enough, we probably have them in the live chat. But if you're going to start to put, we probably don't even have enough numbers. But we're going to start putting large numbers of people in very confined spaces with absolutely no social distancing, and we're going to do it now almost immediately. I don't know what that's going to do for the spread of coronavirus, but my guess is that's going to be that's going to represent a pretty big problem. Michigan was already seeing a spike in coronavirus figures just because of the it's one of the first places where the protests started, so they are on the bleeding edge of cases that have been starting up again across the countries. Their numbers have already been going up. I would imagine this is going to be extraordinarily significant in that, because if you have 10,000 people have evacuated. I don't know how many they can hold, but they've got 6 shelters, and if they put 1,000 people in each shelter, see Coleman High School, I have to believe it has to be able to hold at least 1,000, probably 2, if it's just a basic, in an emergency situation, might be able to hold 2,000 people. So if you've got 2,000 people crammed in there in close quarters for any length of time, I think that's going to be a problem. The Midland Mall is another one. It may be that they're going to try to maintain some form of social distancing. I don't know how you do that in an emergency like this. So let me put this into the description, then I'm going to do another rundown. Alright, so we now have a list of the emergency shelters. If anybody needs to pass any information like that on to anybody or wants to, the emergency shelters are in there. Tony Designs is dropping a map of the flash flood warning, so that he has put into the live chat. So, and he got that from Bregwin, who's been a tremendous help. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I probably didn't. But so I think because it's nighttime, it's going to be very, and we will be keeping this discussion also up in the Discord. Anybody who wants to, sometimes we'll keep this going we'll keep this going as long as we need to. I don't know how much more news there's going to be on this. So, and then let's get, okay, the other thing I'm actually going to do is, okay, and we're learning now that the Meridian Junior High School is no longer a shelter. I don't know why. I don't know if that's been closed. It looks like it's been closed. It looks like they're not going to use it as one. At first, I thought perhaps it wasn't going to be a shelter because Midland. I thought it might not be a shelter because they were full, but now it looks like there is another issue. So for whatever reason, it is closed. The Midland Family Center, it's actually the West Midland, the Bullock Creek High School, and the Midland High School, which I'm not sure if the Midland High School and the Coleman High School, they can't be the same thing, but Coleman isn't being listed. So I'm going to drop the most updated information that we have for what shelters are open in the description, as well as the addresses for 3 of them in the description for anyone who needs that. Again, to run down what we know so far, at around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 dams in Michigan appear to have failed. A third one failed about an hour later. The dams have endangered a great deal of territory, but most in particular the town of Midland, which is home to 42,000 people. The governor of Michigan has declared a state of emergency, and the governor is saying that at this point she is anticipating that roughly between 8 and 12 hours from now, the center of, or the downtown area of Midland could be under as much as 9 feet of water. There is an emergency evacuation order in place for what the National Weather Service is declaring a catastrophic situation. They have done a mandatory evacuation order for 10,000 people, and are, it looks like, going to be including another 90,000 for a total of about 100,000 people to evacuate. 3,000 buildings have already been affected, and that's about all we know. Now, we do have a few more pictures, so I'm not sure. So I'm seeing pictures here that look reasonably compelling. My only concern is if these pictures are in the daytime. I don't know how we're getting day pictures of something that started at 10 p.m. Oh, well, let's see, 10, 9. Okay, I guess it might be. So it looks like these I want to make sure that I know the source of these pictures and have them right, but I think we've got them. So let me see if I can get a few more pictures up and another video. But in the meantime, some of the pictures I'm seeing is, that looks like either that's an apartment complex that has, that looks like at least 3, no, that's 3 feet of water in the apartment complex. There's a white truck in front of it, and the water is to just about the tire level. There's another one that's more than halfway up on the what looks to be a mailbox. The water is halfway up to the mailbox there, and this has just started. There's at least one road also that's been completely washed out, so it looks like travel. I'm at this point, I'm concerned about what's going to happen to people who can't evacuate. So if you know anybody in the area, stop watching this broadcast. Call now. This is an extraordinarily serious situation. It has been called catastrophic now by both the National Weather Service and by the National Weather Service and by the governor. And let's see, we do have, I just want to catch up on a bit more. What we appear to know is at least 2 of the 3 dams had multiple violations, and one of them appears to be far older than it's supposed to be permitted, and it was either supposed to be replaced. I think maybe they were paying the fines rather than replace it. I don't know. A super chat from Arnie. I think we've had this discussion before. I've had this discussion with him before. Arnie Rorvik. I think I'm going to say that. I'm sure you're aware, Nick, but just in case, Voice of Thunder, Thunderfoot is an excellent source of COVID data analytics. Thank you. I do know who he is. I haven't had much of a chance to talk with him. I'm a fan, so that may be worth getting into, and I'll actually do one sort of very brief news update so people don't have to watch both if they don't want to. We're going to be going live again after this. Might as well, so I'll be explaining that in a few minutes. I'm going to see if I can gather any more information, and then once we got it down, somebody had brought up earlier, and so I'm going to reiterate. At present, it looks like there's no way that they're going to be able to practice any social distancing at in any of these shelters. This governor has asked people to go to family, stay away from the shelters if at all possible, for a number of reasons. 1, overcrowding. 2, COVID. So if you can even if you have to leave the state, go stay with someone else if you can. If you can't, then there are a number of shelters. We have all the shelters that I'm aware of are now in the description at the top. The address to 3 of them is also there. I mean, realistically speaking, this is going to be flooded for a while. The people in these shelters are going to be here at a minimum for 12 hours, probably closer to a day or 2 before they can at least go to other shelters to ease the pressure. Nobody's going to be going home for a while who's been evacuated here. So this is all people who are now at significant risk for COVID. If anybody in there has COVID, it's going to transmit quickly, and there's going to be multiple people there. It's going to be a hot spot for it. And then when they do separate out into the smaller ones, which I assume is going to be the next move, this will have a profound and noticeable impact on their numbers. It just will. 10,000 people, and it's going to be 100,000. So you take 100,000 people displaced, say 20,000 in shelters total. Most of these shelters, if they're lucky, 2,000 people per shelter. Just opening the beaches had an impact, and people weren't even in Florida. People weren't remotely this packed. Obviously, it's not something to worry about right now. They have to, one thing at a time. But for me, that's one of the biggies. So before, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to collate and see if I can get anything more on what's going on. This is a picture of shortly after the dam collapsed, and again, I'm not getting all of these in, but hopefully Tony Designs and or any of our other mods who are available right now can drop links. Just do your best to make sure that these are reliable sources, but I'm looking at another one. It's only about 2 feet of water in the middle. Oh Jesus, no, it's not. It's 2 feet of water in one area, and a car, it's up to the bottom of the window on the car, and this has to have been less than an hour after the dam broke. So 35,000 homes and 10,000 people have been affected, but that was as of a writing an hour ago. So things are it's 3 dams. Things are moving reasonably quickly. It looks to me like, we started this before CNN put it in the top. It looks like it's still not the top on CNN. How on earth does CNN not yet have this? So other news organizations aren't yet running with this that I can tell. It's being reported, but nobody's running with this big time. So, I mean, for national news, you would think, but nonetheless. So it's the Dow Chemical Company. I'm also mildly concerned. The Dow Chemical Company has a facility there of some kind. That facility is at risk. It's on one of the rivers downstream. If it hasn't seen some flooding already, I would be very surprised. And it's just not good when a chemical plant gets overrun by water. But there appears to be a research reactor of some kind there. So, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission has approved a research reactor there. I don't know if they've got one. I also don't know what happens, so I think we're going to try to figure that out before we shut down the stream, because I think that's worth noting. So let's see what we can find out about that reactor. They were approved for one, a small reactor you can build in a year. I mean, if it's just for, Clark University had a reactor but it was like a tiny thing. It's not even, okay. Well, let's look into and see what that is. The shelters are designated as pet friendly, which is also good to know. But the other things that we've been worrying on covering. Okay, that's at least one video got taken down. We were actually going to be going live either in a few hours. Well, we were going to be going live within the next few hours at some point anyway, on a number of things. First of all, just to the regular stories that we've been updating in general, and we did not get a chance to update late last night. We were going to do early in the morning, but now this happened. The CDC has an aggregate of COVID deaths, and they are expecting by June 1st somewhere between 100 and 125,000. One forecast does go as high as 150,000. All of the forecasts now show, instead of this trend where this linear curve, exponential growth curve was okay, now I just did the logarithmic, where it was, where this exponential growth curve was actually flattening out. All of them now show it starting to go back up again. Again, nobody's surprised by this. What's surprising is we can have the economy and not do this to ourselves, but that's a story for another time. Moderna's new COVID vaccine is now in stage 1 trials. It takes a while for it to move past that, but it seems to be having very good results in the stage 1 trials. At least 8 of the trial participants appear to have developed their own antibodies against coronavirus, which ostensibly would make them immune. South Korea has reported that a number of people who has been infected with coronavirus appear to have maintained their antibodies, which is strong evidence that once you've had this, you would in fact continue to be immune. That's kind of been the assumption by a great many people. That's not necessarily the case. That's typically the case. It's not necessarily an assumption you want to make, but it does appear to be the case here. South Korea is confident enough that they are saying that anyone who's had the infection can go about and does not have to be in lockdown. Yes, we can show a few more pictures. I can get one of the pictures back up again. Let me, while I finish this one, I get back. Well, you know what? Let's do this one. I will get a couple more pictures in there. Donald Trump, oh my God, he has said he's taking hydroxychloroquine. I don't believe him. I think he's lying. I have almost no doubt in my mind he's lying. There's probably no doctor in the country that would prescribe it for him for any number of reasons, not least of which is you don't want to be the doctor who killed the president of the United States. Remember what happened to the doctor that killed Michael Jackson? Anyways, he says he's taking it. There's all sorts of problems with the notion of him taking it, so we're going to discuss. Like I said, after this goes down, about 10-15 minutes after the end of this breaking news, we're going to start a news update on the COVID virus, and we will be discussing Trump's ignoring of medical advice, basically telling other people to ignore medical advice. And yes, we will once again be reminding people, please don't freebase Lysol. Trump has also said that anyone who disagrees with him is doing it for political reasons and only because they don't like him, which is odd because any number of people, including us, we 2 months ago said why hydroxychloroquine was a very bad idea and a very bad drug. I'm kind of glad he doesn't watch our show, but nonetheless, long before he hadn't even uttered the phrase hydroxychloroquine. So no, it's been understood to be a bad drug for a while. We'll get into that. He has also said that he is going to permanently withdraw funding from the World Health Organization and withdraw the United States as a member state. He has said that the large number of, or the high number of reported COVID infections in the United States is a good thing, and he sees it as a badge of honor. We'll be covering that. And also, it looks like he is going to be putting a forced stop to the work done by National Guard 1 day before they're eligible for benefits. I will say this, if you are a Republican and you say you support our troops and you can support that under any set of circumstances, especially considering what they've been putting up with, we'll get to it. We'll be getting into it. So that will be our news update. That will be within about 10 or 15 minutes after the end of this stream. Yeah, I think he's making that up because... So here's the thing. I think Mr. Trump, and then I'm going to see if I can get another video and or some more pictures on here. I think Mr. Trump is making up the fact that he's on chloroquine. He's also said it's a safe drug. It is most certainly a safe drug. It could not pass. It couldn't even get into trials today. It has... I forget what the official term is. I'm going to get that. It's an elongated something or other. It affects the heart in such a way. In the trials, when they do animal trials before they go to phase 1 clinical trials, when they're doing the animal trials, if it does this to a dog, if the dog gets the irregular heartbeat from the drug is dead. The drug cannot be. It's gone. You start over because that drug's going nowhere. And hydroxychloroquine does that, but hydroxychloroquine got in before those guidelines, before people understood that kind of problem, and B, before those guidelines were put in place. It could not be approved today for any use, not for any use. That's how bad it is, and he is sitting there saying, hey, I'm taking it just because. He's saying that because he wants to vindicate his stupid, dumbass, oh, hey, everybody should take it. So I mean, he's thinking like a 12. This is how a child thinks. He figures if he says he's taking it, that vindicates the fact that he's been wrong up till date on. Oh, dear Lord. So we'll be getting into it, but yeah, he's not taking it. I don't think he's if he was taking it, he'd be a lot sicker. The other thing that happened was there was a part of. So there was a study that was just done on vets, and the veterans who. It's of COVID, vets who were sick with COVID. The mortality rate was 11.6%. No, sorry, 11.3%. So 11.3% was the mortality rate of Vietnam vets, or sorry, just vets in general, who had COVID. When they took hydroxychloroquine, it went up to 28%. That's more than double the death rate when they took hydroxychloroquine. The reason is because it's toxic stuff. When you're giving toxic stuff to somebody who's already sick. Trump's reply was, the test doesn't count because they were giving it to sick people. That's his reply. I wish I could say I was making it up. I'm not. I'm not that funny. So, we will be doing a rundown. Let's assume the rundown will be at about 12:30. 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. We're going to do a rundown of the an actual news update as opposed to the breaking news. We're going to finish this. I would like to see if we can find out what's going on with what appears to be possibly a nuclear generator. I don't know what. Some kind of nuclear material at the Dow plant. That plant is going to be submerged. That's not going to be. That's not much of a question. there. So we've updated the picture, and like I said, I will try to get some video and footage here. Well, that's a good point. If Mr. Trump is on anything to help his heart, no. Well, no doctor would prescribe him this, and it's off-label, which is fine. Doctors actually do off-label all the time if they have to, but the reality is a doctor's not going to prescribe the President of the United States an off-label Medicaid. There's a reason its dick moves like this, excuse me, but that's what it is. It's dick moves like this that have people lose their faith in science. It's a research reactor, and it has been in operation for. Okay, so that's actually. So I went to my university had a research reactor. It was a little weird just walking around the campus knowing there's a nuclear reactor on site, but hey. Obviously, because that reactor is on a river that has the potential to flood, there has to be some kind of guidelines in place, but I remember Fukushima. And we're not looking at Fukushima. I mean, I would imagine you're not going to get a meltdown on anything like this, but it's Dow Chemical, and they've got a nuclear reactor there. So I think we're going to stay looking at this for another couple of minutes just to see if we can get any more clarity on that. I will do another rundown in a minute, and yeah, let's see. And I'm getting the times correct. I apologize. We've got some of the timing incorrect, and we will update those. So, where are we? The state of Michigan is, hold on, under a state of emergency. A state of emergency was declared when first the Edenville Dam, and then followed about an hour later by the Sanford Dam, and then an hour later by the M30 Dam, all ruptured. One lake is, by this point, completely emptied out. I don't know the status of the other lakes, but one of them, it would appear, is extraordinarily large. The governor has, on top of declaring a state of emergency, said that the town of Midland could be completely under 9 feet of water in the downtown Midland area in the next roughly 9 to 13 hours. The town hosts 42,000 people, all of whom at this point will have to be evacuated. There has been a minimum of 10,000 that have been evacuated, and 3,000 buildings have been affected. It looks like they're saying now the evacuation orders could get as high as 100,000. They have set up what appears to be at this point 6 evacuation sites. They are asking people to go to family first. Stay away from these evacuation sites. They're going to be turned into public areas very quickly. There's going to be, to the best of my knowledge, and I would have to believe, no social distancing there. They're asking people not to go there if they don't have to, but you have to leave. Don't even play. The National Weather Service is saying that this is a catastrophe. So is the governor. 9 feet of water in the center of town. Everybody needs to get out. So we will. We have the address of at least 3 of those places, and we are trying to follow what else is going on. It's nighttime. It's very difficult to. A lot of people are still asleep, and nobody's entirely sure what's going on. This happened again 10 p.m. Eastern, so it was several hours ago. But let me see if I can catch that there. Perfect. So TP Speaker, thanks for doing the stream. Our pleasure. Our pleasure, such as it is. If we can be of service, thank you. Glad you don't have family in the state. I will say, no, I don't think. I hope. I don't. I mean, it depends on the kind of reactor, and it depends on the safety protocol. We know nothing about this. I'm going to say. When I say this, I tend to end up. When I say, "Oh, trust the corporation, trust the government," I end up eating my own words there. But I have to believe that because They are downstream from a dam that could break. They're smart enough to have some pretty significant safeguards in place against flooding. But so that's just my personal belief is they've got to have something there. Fukushima, the Japanese have some of the best technology for that, and we all know what happened at Fukushima. But that was a nuclear reactor, not for research. I mean, the research reactors are tiny. That one was for generating power. Research reactor, all you need to do is usually just generate, especially so if they're generating, if they're doing something, for example, like X-ray crystallography there, and you can generate X-rays for X-ray crystallography with anything that could do it. But if you really want to do it right, you need a oh Jesus, what is it? Those big circles. Wow, my brain. Excuse me, I haven't slept. Particle accelerator. But you can do it without a particle accelerator. Particle accelerator is the best way to generate X-rays actually for that. But you can do it with any kind of, and then the nuclear chemistry and nuclear medicine requires some kind of some kind of reactor. So this is a 3,000 kilowatt reactor. Obviously small by any standard. Small nuclear reactor isn't, but it is a reactor. It's not for generating power. It's 3,000 kilowatts, but it doesn't look like it's a power generating one. It's just for research. So again, you need those kinds of reactors for nuclear chemistry. But what safeguards they have in place is very I don't see. So I think, yeah. Well, thank you for that. And hold on, all right, so yeah, that's what oh boy. So I'm going to end up keeping an eye on this anyway. I think we're going to start to wind this down. We do have a few other things that we need to get to. Yeah, it's not, there's no way this could do Fukushima. Fukushima was generating, I don't know how much electricity, but it was huge. Fukushima was powering Tokyo. This, let's see, at 300 kilowatts. This could power a reasonably large building, I suppose, or medium-sized building, probably. So, okay, and it's an old reactor. It's from 1967, which is mildly concerning as well, because the older reactors don't tend to have the same safety protocols. Again, apologies. A little tired. Do I think that all the people can get out or have gotten out? No. That's not possible. You know, even in the best of circumstances, evacuations of this magnitude. But we have a picture. Let me see if I can get one more picture up. Okay, and there's a picture of the plant. I'm going to get a picture here. This is a picture of a number of things, but it includes a washed-out road. And you can see just one of, oh, that is just the picture of the road, actually. So let me get, I got a picture of the road, so I will get, I can get us a couple of pictures here. So if you guys will bear with me for a minute, I'll get us a couple pictures, and then if assuming that there is nothing new, we will start to wrap it up. And then we're going to go into our actual, what was scheduled to be broadcast shortly anyway. Okay, so we've got 3 new pictures. And I will, yeah, don't we all need to sleep? Well, and I have, okay, sorry. And I would like to, I'm going to take this minute to say that we have Patreons, we have mods, we have producers, guests, co-hosts. We have a lot of people who work on In Time. A lot of people. I'm the obvious one. Everybody knows me. Everybody can spot me. We have a lot of people who work very hard here. And only some of them work during these kinds of things. But the ones who are working now, and even just friends of the show, again, patrons, it's really helpful, and thank you so much. But we have a lot of people who work here, so I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to everybody who's been helping out, both today and who just in general have been helping out on the show. But the breaking news always. There's been a lot of breaking news recently, which is yeah. It's I think you're right. Fuck 2020. Yeah, 2020 is just, it doesn't, 2020 has no real interest in giving up on us. It's really unfortunate. So I've got 3 pictures, and I think I'm going to be able to get them all geared up here in time. And then we will, that's wrong. And then we'll do another rundown. I honestly can't figure out, I appear to be missing one, and I'm going to try one more time to snag it. If I can't get it, I'll go without. And I'll also try not to crash our production software, just because. Now, the picture I most wanted to show, I think I'm probably not going to be able to get, but what I can do, I think, is get at least there we go. We'll do 2 here, and then I think we can actually maybe even do so. This is a good example of why the roads are a problem, and why the question on evacuation. So if there were roads that were taken out within the first hour. So, if you're trying to evacuate and you hit one of those roads, you're going to have a problem. The one on the middle you might be okay with. The one on the right is a little more problematic. And so what I'm going to do, yes, I think I can get one more picture. I'm going to try to get this picture in here, and if I can get it, then what we'll do is we'll do a rundown. We'll do the news. Okay, I think we did show that one earlier. So that was cars up to basically up to the door in water, and that was about an hour after the dams had broken, and they're expecting the water levels to continue to rise for at least another 9, maybe as many as 13 hours. So this is unfortunately going to be quite serious. That's the one earlier. If you take a look at that one, that's from about an hour after the break. And then I will see if we can do one more, and then we'll start to wrap this up. Nope, don't think I'll be able to get the other one. So apologies on that. Let me do one more rundown. All right, so we have someone here who lives 20 minutes east of Midland. You need to figure out what it would take for you to find out how much danger you're in, and I think you should do that right now. My guess is if your phone hasn't rung, if you have a landline, Everybody with a landline, their phones are probably ringing right now, but don't trust me on that. Find out. There's got to be local news. I think the Deviants just dropped the local news recap, so please check that out. If you are now, we have in our description, we have all of the we know of 6 evacuation shelters. If you look, we have the addresses for the for 3 of them. So look at those, so at least you know what's in your area. It's in the description already. That's 6 evacuation areas. 3 we have the addresses for. Check it out. And I honestly don't know at this point. The National Weather Service has been doing emergency updates for everybody in the area. If you don't have a landline, you're not going to be necessarily getting calls because they don't register cell cards there. We've showed a little live video. I can probably re-show that one, I suppose, one more time. There was one other, but it got taken down. I don't know what happened to it. So we'll show. I don't know what the best local news is to watch for the update. My assumption is any local news. The governor has declared a state of emergency right now, and they're looking at an evacuation order for 100,000 people, which may have been issued by now. It was ostensibly only 10,000 at the beginning. The city of Midland is 42,000 people, and they're expecting 9 feet of water within somewhere between 9 and 13 hours from now. So let's see. Let me see if I can get the video. Yeah, don't thank me. Just go. just go. You can watch this broadcast some other time. Not to. Yeah. This is astonishingly serious. And the other thing is, okay, every second counts at this point because roads are getting taken out. Roads are getting taken out. Now, if you are looking out the window and you don't see water, that's a good place to start. I'm not going to say, but then find out if you're in a safe place, and find that out rapidly, because if you're not, things change. Flooding is immensely serious, and flooding is just you're okay 1 minute, and the next minute you're in 4 feet of water and you can't start your car. So please check. Again, we will be continuing the conversation in we'll be continuing the conversation in our Discord. I will see if I can get up the video, but right now we're probably up doing 3 or 4 different things at the same time. So okay, in order to get, you know, I know how I can show that video one more time. So let me get on that. This was what I will show though real quick is this is a picture of the first lake, the smaller lake to drain. As you can see, all the boats. No, that can't be the lake. That's got to be the river, ostensibly, that feeds into it. And then what I'm going to do. Okay, well that's 22nd. That's the same clip. So it looks like what we have here is footage from basically immediately as the dam broke. So I'm going to cue this up. I keep saying, I've said like 20 times now, I'm going to do this, and then something else happens. All right, this is queuing. So there was a helicopter in the sky, and the pilot had a smartphone, and he saw the dam breaking, and he just started recording it. It does look like our source for this is getting overloaded, so I'm hoping we can see it. The footage may not be available. We've lost several pieces of footage so far. It either gets pulled down or the server's overloaded. Nope, I don't think we'll be able to get it. So We showed it earlier in the stream. You can go back. It was one of the first things we showed. Oh, there is another source. You know what? There's another source for the same footage, and if this is playing. All right. What I'm going to do is I will get this into. This is the failure on the Edenville Dam in mid-Michigan, and I will let's bring that up. And of course, it looks like that's nowhere. Okay. So what I'm trying to bring up now is apologies. I wasn't quite ready to be doing this. There we are. Nope, that's not right. All right, I'm going to take one more minute in trying to get this done, and if I can't, there it is. Got it. So we're going to show you some footage now. This is footage, and then we'll do one. Actually, no, I'm going to do a rundown first. Then we're going to do the footage. So at roughly 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this would be yesterday, late yesterday night. By this broadcast, so about 3 hours ago, 10 p.m., roughly 10:30 Eastern Standard Time, the Edenville Dam broke. It failed and began flooding everything downstream of it. Shortly thereafter, the Sanford Dam in Michigan broke, and then after that, the M30 Dam in Michigan broke. These failures collectively were large enough to have the governor declare a state of emergency. The National Weather Service began notifying people immediately of a catastrophic situation and declared that in Midland, which is home to 42,000 people, you could expect 9 feet of water, up to 9 feet of water within, as of when I'm saying this now, between 9 and 13 hours. Dow Chemical has a facility that is on the river downstream of this. It's impossible to imagine. The water was already rising by the last photos that we saw of this. It's impossible to imagine that the chemical plant will not be flooded. That plant is home to a nuclear reactor. It is a small nuclear reactor, 300 kilowatts, a small nuclear reactor. It was built, I believe, if I recall, in 1967, so it's a reasonably old one. And yeah, I'll get to that. We don't know the status of that reactor. We don't know how that reactor is going to handle a flood, and we don't know what other chemicals are there. This is a significant research facility. There are 6 evacuation shelters that we are aware of. Well, actually, at least one has now been shut down, and we do not understand why, but it appears like they will not be even using it. These facilities all are, well, they're public spaces. I can't fathom there's going to be any social distancing practiced there. In fact, they can't. They're going to have to cram as many people as they can there. The governor has said that she would like everybody to shelter with family if possible, even if it means leaving the state, get out of there as rapidly as possible. It's a lot of water coming very quickly, but if you can't leave the state, go to one of these shelters. But I can't fathom they're not going to have masks. Nobody's prepared for this. If they had this many spare masks, they'd already be using them. So I am concerned about what this is going to do to the COVID situation. This is going to cause it to spread very, very quickly. Nothing anybody can do about that right now. That's not a priority. But the address for 3 of those shelters are in the description. The names of all of them are also in the description. I think we had some other, let's see, to the best of my knowledge, yeah, there hasn't, I don't think it's ever flooded this badly, and the reason is there hasn't been this many dams. They were having record rains for the last 2 weeks. 2 of the dams, the Edenville and the Sanford Dam, had significant write-ups by the federal government. Apparently, they had multiple citations, and the owners were ignoring those citations. And the Stamford Dam, it looks like there was a lot of public outcry over, and there were people very concerned about it, saying that they thought it was decaying and yada, yada, yada. It looks like this may be, at least in one case, an overtop situation, and overtops, even with spectacular dams, they tend to fail, but with really bad dams, you end up with pretty serious problems. We do now, I see here that US 10 is closed in both directions near the dam. And this is an example of what. Okay, thank you, Tony. One of the reason that the high school was removed from the list of shelters was because it was deemed to be below the safety area due to elevation. So at present, 10,000 have been ordered to be evacuated. More than 3,000 properties have been affected, or 3,000 buildings have been affected, and we are looking at evacuation orders are actually going to be expanded to mandatory evacuation orders, expanded to 100,000. So we've been asked, okay, how many people, are there any deaths? As of this moment, no deaths or injuries are reported, but it's very hard to know because it's in the middle of the night. And if you're in the area, get out now. Don't be watching this. We've had somebody watching this broadcast. Do not find out if you have to evacuate, and if you do, leave, and leave now, because even if you don't see water, the problem is it could take out the roads around you. Get out now. Worry about everything else later. A number of these shelters are pet friendly, so I don't care. Get out. This is not a joke. This is phenomenally serious. So, and I don't understand. I feel we've done this before. We do have a tendency to, because we're a small organization, we tend to move on news much faster than the larger ones. The larger has to go through a huge bureaucracy. We're sitting here. Most major networks haven't picked up on this as front page. This is front page news. This is 100,000 Americans having to evacuate in the period of 9 hours. But most major news organizations are not picking this up because we're lucky we're a little more nimble than they are because we're small. All right. So, Mr. Designs, Tony Designs has been dropping, and you will see links to, so Midland does have an emergency siren system. Thank you, Tony. And we also he has been dropping links for all of that. If you have any questions, there's a good chance he's already dropped the links to it. So please don't hesitate to scroll up on the live chat. Anything I can get and put into the description, we'll put in there. In fact, let me put in the City of Midland. If that is the list of shelters, I'm going to drop that in if that's a dynamic list, because so far I've been updating the list by hand. All right. While we are looking at the list of shelters, that is a list, but it's not a dynamic one. All right. We are going to see footage now from, there was a helicopter overhead when the Edenville Dam ruptured. We are going to look now at the failure of the Edenville Dam. This is the Edenville Dam breaking. Now, if you can't see that, we can actually probably get that up into the clock. Actually doubles as a sidebar for things just that size. So we're trying to, yeah. But if you guys could see that, we can leave it or I think probably best to leave it rather than try to get that into the sidebar right now. The sidebar is just not up. So, yay. So, you know what? I'm going to do another rundown just because I keep getting. Give me 1 second for the rundown, and here we are. At about 10:30 Eastern Standard Time, the Edenville Dam broke about an hour or so, within the next hour, I should say. The Stamford Dam in Michigan broke, and then the M30 Dam in Michigan broke. All of these dams had significant prior complaints against them. Not all, I don't know about the M30, but the first two had significant problems. It looks like they were in violation of a number of federal guidelines. This caused a significant amount of flooding to begin occurring downstream. The governor declared a state of emergency almost immediately, and it was quickly determined that the town of Midland, Michigan would, at least the downtown area, would be in 9 feet of water from anywhere between 12 to 15 hours after the original break, which was again somewhere around 10:30. The governor declared a state of emergency. The emergency warning system, it appears, was activated. The American Weather Service contacted homes in the area, and I would assume they activated the alarm system in Midland. Midland has 42,000 people, which now have to all be evacuated as quickly as possible, hopefully in under that 10-hour period, but this is the middle of the night. We know now that they have extended the evacuation order to 100,000 people. Over 3,000 buildings have now been affected, and they are looking at apologies, hold on. And they're looking at a considerable amount of damage already. At least the main road around the main freeway around the first one's been closed in both directions. We had images of another road that had been completely wiped out. There are 6 shelters that I'm aware of. We have the addresses for the first 3 of them in the description. We will be updating those as soon as we can. The governor has asked everybody to go and stay with family, to do not go into these shelters if it can possibly be avoided. One of the problems, aside from the fact that these shelters cannot handle 100,000 people, the other problem is there's going to be absolutely no protection protocols in these shelters, to the best of my knowledge. I can't fathom where they're going to get gloves and masks at this hour, and if they had that kind of equipment, they'd already be using them in emergency facilities. The other problem is it's going to be impossible to social distance. If you've got 2,000 adults in a high school, all in emergency conditions, social distancing goes out the window. So if you have to get out. That's a no. If you're anywhere near this, you have to get out. If you don't have family, go to one of these shelters. We have the descriptions and the addresses. Coessa for 5,000. Good grief, I thought this was something about Michigan Democrats. Yeah, well, don't worry, that'll be the breaking news according to Trump at the top of the hour. So, the only other concern that I'm aware of at this point is Dow Chemical has a chemical plant in the area. The plant was downstream of one of these dams that has now broken. We are aware that it is predicted to flood. It looked, when we were looking at it, it looked like it was starting to. The flood water was clearly rising. Aside from the chemicals in there, a great many chemicals do not react well with water. They also have a nuclear reactor there. It's a 3,000 kilowatt nuclear reactor. The reactor was built in, if I remember correctly, in 1967. 300 kilowatts isn't a lot in terms of nuclear reactor size, but it's a nuclear reactor. And we all remember Fukushima. I don't know. It is impossible at this point to speculate. I would think that they would be prepared for a flood, but so is Fukushima. So this flood was ostensibly, the dam's breaking was ostensibly caused by excessive flooding. They had record rains for about 2 weeks. All of the rivers were already over flood stage, and whereas a minimum of two of these dams had, whereas two of these dams had serious violations that we are aware of. It's, yeah, Fukushima is getting timed out in the, okay. We don't know. All we know at this point is Dow Chemical has a pretty big research facility down there, and aside from the chemicals, it does have a 300 kilowatt nuclear plant. We don't know if there's any way to secure it or what the secure protocol. And again, this happened at night. This happened at 10:30 Eastern. So I think that's about it. I've got to tell you, in general, when something like this is happening, we try to stay on for a little bit longer, but I don't honestly know that we can do much more at this point. I think we're going to have to do something so Coesa's not getting timed out for using the word Fukushima. I don't know that we have much more that we can do at this point. I think at this point it's just going to be rundown after rundown after rundown. We do have a Disco King, thank you very much. And we have a scheduled broadcast that we were supposed to do. We have preempted that scheduled broadcast. I think we're going to just do it now after this. We are going to cover a number of remarkable statements that the president has made regarding hydroxychloroquine. And we're going to cover what appears to be an attempt to, in my view, defraud by this government, the National Guard, by force stopping them one day before they're entitled to benefits. This is coming down from the president. So there's a whole bunch that we wanted to cover. There is a vaccine that is in phase 1 that is showing some promising results, and South Korea has developed or has some new information that is also reasonably promising. So I think we're going to discuss all that. That's probably going to be, that was normally going to be about an hour stream. I don't know. We'll see that. That will start probably about 15 or 20 minutes after this one comes down. So if you are anywhere in Michigan, and you don't know for certain that you are safe from this, find out. The town that is getting most hit is Midland, but it's not the only place that's getting hit. And it was 3 dams that failed. So unless you know you're upstream from this or really, really far away, find out. And don't worry about what. Find out. And I don't care whether you see water. I don't care what the hour is, because a lot of times what happens with this is everything looks fine, then you start to see the water come in. By the time you get to your car, the water's up to your ankles, and then you find out all the roads are washed out. So the governor has insisted everybody move on this as rapidly as humanly possible. This is absolutely a crisis situation. Their governor has called this catastrophic. The National Weather Service has used the same terminology. It's going to displace, it looks like now, about 100,000 people. 10,000 have already been ordered, moved out, and then, and then at least 3,000 buildings at this point have been affected. So please, if you know anybody in any of the areas that you think could be affected, call them, find out. It's the good news is it looks like there was an air warning siren in Midland, so that is good. But if it's a family that is in an area that either can't hear it, and or normally what they'll do, and us older folks know the reverse lookup of the reverse 911, where 911 dials everybody. But nowadays, people that have cell phones, and sometimes a cell phone even comes from another state, so they don't know who to reach or how to reach them. So if in doubt, you know anyone in this area, please reach out to them and make sure that they know and are aware. This is not something to play with. We have the 6 shelters at the top of the description, address for 3 of them there. Thank you to those of you who have super chatted for this. We appreciate it. Thank you for the support of our patrons and our mods and everybody who has been contributing to this. Like I said, it's normally we keep ongoing with because this is going to be breaking news for another 8 to 12 hours, but there's no way I think at present we can stay on, and other than us just talking in a record and just me talking about that, I don't think there's anything else we can contribute. So we will go down, we will reset our systems, and we will be back up in about 15 or 20 minutes with the news update on the coronavirus and the president's goal to make sure that we all get infected. That's hyperbole. Sorry, hyperbole. It's late. I'm getting punchy, but yeah, he's okay. Thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you guys a little later. And please, everyone, stay safe. We'll see you in about 20 minutes.